गिरिधारी शिशि राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शत शिष्मार भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शत शिष्मार भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोक्षरस बाबूजी महाराज की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नित्यल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूपानु गौरी गुरु वर्ग की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जाय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट विरक्त गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। Jai. Is today any special day? No. Okay. Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Okay. Let's begin the Mangala Charan. Hari Bo Rase Shri Mataji. Okay. One second. Just... Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ajanulambita bhujau kanakavadato Sankirtanaikapitaro kamalayataksho Vishvambaro dijavaro yugadharmapalo Vande jagat priyakaro karunavataro Namastrikala satyaya jagannatha sutaya cha Sabhrityaya saputraya sakalatraya te namaha. Jai 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 Vishwambhara Dvija Raj Jai Jai Vishwambhara Priya Vaishnava Samaj Gaura Chandra Jai Dharma Setu Mahadhir Jai Sankirtana Moy Sundar Sharir Jai Nityanandir Bandhava Dhana Pran Jai Gadadhar Advaitar Prema Dham Jai Shri Jagadananda Priya Atishoy Jai Vakreshwar Kashishwar Hriday Jai Jai Shri Vasadi Priya Varganath Jiva Prati Koro Prabhu Shubha Drishtipat Madhya-khaṇḍa katha jeno amriter khanda Je katha shunile ghuche antar pashanda Madhya-khaṇḍa katha bhai shuno ekachitte Sankirtana aramba hoilo jeno mate Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina Iti vigyaya devi tvagnayamang charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshiptastakama ditaranga madhe kripamai tvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanaravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ore muro lok shuno Chaitanya Mangal Chaitanya Mahima Jate Jani Beshakal Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kohe Ved Vyas Chaitanya Lilar Vyas Vrindavana Das Vrindavana Dasa Koilo Chaitanya Mangal Jahara Shravane Nashe Sarvaya Mangal Chaitanya Nitar Jate Janiye Mahima Jate Jani Krishna Bhakti Siddhanter Sima Bhagavate Jato Bhakti Siddhanter Sar Likhiya Chin Iha Jani Koriya Udhar Chaitanya Mangal Shune Jadi Pashandi Javan Sheho Maha Vaishnava Hoy Tatakhan Manushe Rachite Nare Aiche Granta Dhanya Vrindavana Dasa Mukhe Vakta Shri Chaitanya Vrindavana Dasa Pore Koti Namaskar Aiche Granta Korite Ho Tarila Sangsar Narayani Chaitanya Uchishta Bhajan Tar Garbe Janmila Shri Dasa Vrindavan तार की अद्भुत चैतन्य चारिता वर्णन जहाँ रसवान शुद्ध कोइलो त्रिभुवन सहजे विचित्र मधुर चैतन्य विहार वृंदावन दास मुखे अमृतेर धार वृंदावन दास मुखे अमृतेर धार. By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet. And when they are described by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Jai Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai. Jai Shri. The Gaudiya Bhashya of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki Jai. Jai Shri Harinam Jai Sachinandan Swapashachi Gaur Hari ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. One second, I'm just sending a really important message. Okay, sorry, I just needed to send out a message. Okay, thank you for being so patient with me. And I went to a program yesterday, and I didn't take prasad, and I brought it back, and it was really special prasad. It was on my desk here, and that's why I'm starting late, because I didn't want to do a whole reading while I was like, my mouth was watering and like wanting to eat. And so I just decided to eat first, and then, yeah, that's why I'm starting late. One second, I'm just finishing this. Just rinsing my hand. Okay. So, we are continuing on with our reading. We don't have that much left in the chapter. Hari Bol Kishore Prabhu. And also, of course, Bhavatarani Mataji and Nri Hari Prabhu. And okay, so I'll read this full summary and then we will read from where we left off yesterday. The Lord's chapter 19 of Madhya-khaṇḍa. The Lord's pastimes in Advaita's house. This chapter describes Sriman Mahaprabhu's visit to the devotees' houses with Nityananda, Advaita's distress resulting from being offered respect by Gaurasundar, Advaita's tricks to remove that distress, Gaurasundar's wandering in the city, and his visit with Nityananda to the house of a Vamachari sannyasi, their acceptance of fruits at the house of the sannyasi, Gaura and Nityananda's arrival at the house of Advaita Ācārya, Advaita's explanation of jñāna-yoga, the Lord's beating Advaita and revelation of his glories after hearing his explanations, Advaita Ācārya's happiness and declaration, examples of the inauspicious results of worshipping demigods, the Lord's warning to everyone about blasphemy of Vaiṣṇavas, the Lord's acceptance of food at Advaita's house, and Advaita's glorification of Nityananda on the pretext of expressing anger. Kishore. I'll tell you after. Okay. And no, you can't have some because it's all finished. Okay. Sriman Mahaprabhu and Nityananda visited the houses of all the devotees in Navadvip. When the Lord was pleased, all the devotees became intoxicated with happiness. Among them, Śrī Advaita Ācārya was the most pleased. In ecstatic love, he had no external consciousness, yet he was extremely distressed because Gaurasundar would offer him respect and take dust from his feet. He therefore attempted to make the Lord angry with him by explaining Yoga Vasishta on the pretext of establishing the superiority of Gyan over Bhakti. One day, while Mahaprabhu and Nityananda were wandering about the city, the demigods saw that the two resembled two moons. They thus considered heaven to be earth, themselves to be human beings, and the earth to be heaven, and in this way they went on speculating in various ways among themselves. On the way to Advaita Ācārya's house, Śrī Nityananda and Śrī Gaurasundar went to the house of a Dari sannyasi, or a tantric sannyasi who keeps women. When Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances to the sannyasi became overwhelmed on seeing the most enchanting form of Mahaprabhu and blessed him to achieve worldly opulence. When Mahaprabhu established the abomination and impermanence of such benedictions, the Dari sannyasi, out of his enjoying mentality, praised sense gratifications with objects like wealth and children. Mahaprabhu then explained to the sannyasi that it is not necessary to pray for things like wealth and good birth because they are all temporary. All living entities enjoy happiness and distress according to their own past deeds. Because of not understanding the purport of the Vedas, people consider religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification as the goals of the Vedas. And achievement of opulences like wealth and good birth as the fruit of taking bath in the Ganga and chanting the names of Hari. But this is not the actual purport of the Vedas. Devotional service alone is the goal of the Vedas. Praying for anything else does not indicate proper intelligence. After hearing Mahaprabhu's words, the Dari sannyasi considered Gaurasundar a crazy child and himself, who had traveled to all the holy places, as most intelligent. Nityananda Prabhu laughed at the words of the Dari sannyasi and pacified him with words of praise. Well, he's just a young man. He doesn't understand these things. He then informed the sannyasi that they had to leave for some work and asked him for some food. After the Dari sannyasi requested the two Prabhus to accept lunch at his house, Śrī Gaura and Nityānanda went for a bath in the Ganga, returned, and sat down to eat milk and fruits in the sannyasi's house. When the Dari sannyasi then invited Nityananda to have some wine, some ananda, he called it, Mahaprabhu was like, what is that? What is ananda? Which means bliss, right? So then the two Prabhus understood that the sannyasi was a Vamachari. So they washed their hands and left that house. They then swam down the Ganga to the house of Advaita Ācārya in Shantipur. Realizing that Mahaprabhu had arrived, Advaita Prabhu began to describe the glories of jñāna-yoga. Here's my chance to really rile up the Lord. He understood Mahaprabhu was in an angry mood already, and so then he's like, I'm going to make him even more angry. And when Mahaprabhu inquired from Advaita Prabhu, between bhakti and gyan, which is superior? So when Mahaprabhu inquired that, Advaita Prabhu replied that gyan was superior. On hearing this, Mahaprabhu repeatedly struck Advaita's back with his fist, and after revealing his own glories, he stopped the beating. Advaita Prabhu then began to dance in ecstasy, and after describing how Mahaprabhu had previously given him respect, he begged for Gaura's service, birth after birth, took dust from Mahaprabhu's feet, and smeared it all over his body. Advaita's house then became flooded with tears of love. Everybody was crying. Advaita's two wives, Achyutananda, it described everybody there was all weeping. Mahaprabhu awarded Advaita the benediction that Gaura's mercy would be easily available to those who took shelter at Advaita Prabhu's feet for even a moment. Thereafter, citing the example of the Shaivite king Sudakshina, Advaita Prabhu said that if anyone neglects Mahaprabhu and worships only worships Advaita Ācārya, then that same devotional service will ruin that person. On hearing Advaita's words, Mahaprabhu declared that if anyone worships him, who worships Gaur, while disregarding his devotee, he will never accept such worship, as such devotional service feels like fire burning his body. I was just meeting with Padmanabha Maharaj and this one really nice devotee, ISKCON devotee, disciple of Vaiṣṇavas Prabhu. And yeah, we were kind of discussing this topic about if you accept one and not the other, then you're not going to please the person you're worshiping. So with Srila Prabhupada, if you accept Srila Prabhupada, but you don't give honor to those people who Srila Prabhupada loved, then your worship doesn't please Srila Prabhupada. Anyways, that was a whole. After ordering Advaita's wife to cook, Mahaprabhu and others went to take bath in the Ganga, and after completing their bath, they returned to eat. As they finished eating, Nityananda Prabhu threw rice all over the room, whereupon Advaita recited Nityananda's unlimited glories on the pretext of criticizing him. After Mahaprabhu spent the next few days in the house of Advaita, he returned home with his associates. All right. So we'll be reading this last paragraph. That's what the topic is for today. Haribol Vidyalala Sadidi. Okay, so 195. That's where we're up to. 195. Okay, so let's go back and read the prayer of Advaita Ācārya. Still have a few minutes before it's 7:30. Oh my God, yeah, it's long though. Okay, I'm just going to read this quickly. But yeah, we don't have that much left in this chapter, so it's okay. We won't go over time. Okay. Okay. Okay, so by the influence of his devotional service, Advaita Prabhu was most powerful. He understood that his desire to be punished by the Lord would soon be fulfilled. So, let's see. Advaita Prabhu realized that the Lord was coming in an angry mood. He's coming in an angry mood, and so he began to explain Gyan even more enthusiastically. The Lord's angry. I'm going to even make him more angry. So he began to explain Gyan even more enthusiastically. Who can understand the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya's devotees? In this way, the two lords floated down the Ganga to Advaita's house. Accompanied by Nityananda, the angry Vaiṣṇavas saw Advaita rocking back and forth in the happiness of Gyan. When Haridas and Achyuta, the son of Advaita, when they saw the Lord, they offered their obeisances. The wives of Advaita offered their obeisances to the Lord within their minds. They were filled with anxiety on seeing the Lord's mood. Vishwambar's bodily effulgence was like that of millions of suns. Everyone became frightened on seeing this. In an angry mood, the Lord said, "O Nara, tell me which is superior, Gyan or Bhakti?" Advaita replied, "Gyan is always superior. What is the use of devotional service for one who does not have Gyan?" And on hearing Advaita say that Gyan was superior, the son of Shachi lost his external consciousness out of anger. He dragged Advaita from his seat into the courtyard and began beating him with his own hands. Although she knew everything, Advaita's chaste wife and the mother of the universe, she tried to restrain the Lord. "Spare his life. He is an old Brahman. For whose benefit do you chastise him? This Brahman is so old. What more will you do to him? If something happens to him, you will be responsible for the consequences." On hearing those words befitting a chaste wife, Nityananda smiled. Haridas Prabhu remembered Krishna in fear. In his anger, the Lord did not hear the words of befitting the Lord did not hear those words befitting a chaste wife. He roared and threatened Advaita with proud words. "I was sleeping in the ocean of milk when you, Nada, woke me to fulfill your mission. You have brought me to reveal the science of devotional service, but now you are covering devotional service with your explanations on Gyan. If your intention was to cover devotional service, then why did you have me incarnate? I never frustrate your resolve, but you always deceive me." After releasing Advaita, the Lord sat down at the doorway and began to loudly reveal his own glories. "O Nada, it was I who killed Kamsa. You know everything, don't you? Brahma, Shiva, Shesh, and Lakshmi all engage in my service. The cunning impostor Vasudeva was killed by my chakra. Varanasi was completely burned by my chakra, and the mighty Ravan was killed by my arrow. My chakra cut off the arms of Banasura, and my chakra destroyed Narakasura. It was I who held up Govardhan Hill with my left hand, and it was I who brought the Parijata flower from heaven. I deceived Bali and then bestowed mercy on him, and it was I who killed Hiranyakashipu to save Prahlad." In this way, the Lord revealed his opulences, and Advaita floated in an ocean of ecstatic love while listening. Advaita was filled with ecstasy after receiving his punishment. He clapped his hands and danced in humility. "I have received proper punishment for my offense. O Lord, you are very kind and have actually given me only a token punishment. Now I have realized your supremacy. You have suitably punished me for my fault. Now the relationship between the Lord and his servant has been strengthened." After speaking in this way, the Lord of Shantipur danced in ecstasy. Advaita danced in ecstasy throughout the courtyard. He frowned and spoke to the Lord as follows. "Where has your glorification of me gone now? Where has all your deceitful behavior gone now? I am not Durvasa Muni, who you insulted by smearing his remnants all over your body. Oh, I didn't realize. Anyways, okay. I am not Durvasa Muni, who you insulted by smearing his remnants all over your body. I am not Bhrigu whose foot dust you happily accepted on your chest as Srivatsa. My name is Advaita, and I am your unalloyed servant. My only wish is to honor your remnants birth after birth. By the influence of your remnants, I am unaffected by your illusory energy. You have punished me. Now give me the shelter of your lotus feet. After saying this, the Lord of Shantipur devotedly fell down and placed his head at the Lord's feet. Vishvambar respectfully picked Advaita up and cried profusely as he embraced him. On seeing Advaita's devotion, Nityananda Prabhu cried so profusely that it appeared as if a river was flowing from his eyes. Haridas Prabhu fell to the ground and cried. The wife of Advaita and all their servants began to cry. Achyutananda, the son of Advaita, also cried. Advaita's entire house became filled with ecstatic love of Krishna. Vishvambar felt embarrassed for having beaten Advaita, so he happily awarded Advaita a benediction. He said, Haribol Sudevi Didi. He said, I will bestow mercy on any living entity, even an ant, insect, animal, or bird, who takes shelter of you for even a moment, even if that living entity commits hundreds of offenses against me. On hearing the benediction, Advaita Mahashai began to cry. He caught hold of the Lord's feet and humbly spoke as follows. O Lord, whatever you spoke can never prove false. But please listen to my declaration. If one worships me but does not accept you, then may his devotion to me annihilate him. One who does not worship your lotus feet and accept you as the Supreme Lord is not dear to me. Anyone who worships you is my life and soul. I cannot tolerate a person who disregards you. I cannot look at the face of a Vaiṣṇava Paradi, even if he happens to be my son or servant. If one transgresses you and worships millions of demigods, those demigods will kill him on some pretext. These are not simply my words. They are the words of the Vedas. The killing of Sudakshina is evidence of this. Sudakshina was a son of the king of Kashi. He worshipped Lord Shiva with full attention. In great satisfaction, Shiva told him, ask for a benediction. You will achieve your goal by performing the Abhichara Yagya. But if you insult a devotee of Vishnu, I will kill you in the course of your sacrifice. Without understanding the true intention of Shiva's words, Sudakshina performs the Abhichara Yagya on the order of Shiva. A formidable demon with 3 hands, 3 legs, and 3 heads appeared from the sacrificial fire. That demon with the legs as long as palm trees said, ask for a benediction. The king replied, O fortunate one, burn Dwarka to ashes. On hearing this order, that great demon, who was the creation of Shiva, he became distressed. He realized that the king's desire could not be fulfilled. But the demon was obliged to go to Dwarka. Yet, as soon as he arrives there, he was chased by Sudarshan, the protector of Dwarka. Thinking that he would not be spared by Sudarshan, he tried to run away. The great creation of Shiva fell at Sudarshan's feet and spoke as follows. He said, Durvasa was unable to escape from you, and Brahma and Shiva were unable to protect him. Therefore, Prabhu, how can I escape from you, who are endowed with the prowess of a great Vaishnav? All glories to my master, whose name Sudarshan. You are as powerful as Lord Shiva. All glories to the abode of Lord Krishna. All glories to Sudarshan Chakra, the best of the Vaishnavas. All glories to the destroyer of the miscreants and the protector of the pious. Sudarshan heard his prayer with satisfaction and then instructed him to go burn the king's son. That terrifying creature then returned to Kashi and burned the prince to ashes. He transgressed you, O Lord, and worshipped Shiva. Therefore he was killed in the course of his sacrifice. That is why I declare that I will burn to ashes anyone who transgresses you and serves me. You are the Lord of my life, and you are my wealth. You are my father and mother, and you are my dear friend. Oh wait, this is where we read up to yesterday. Okay, so let's continue on from here. Tumi mor pranana, tumi mor dhan, Tumi mor pita mata, tumi bandhu jan. Advaita continued, you are the Lord of my life, and you are my wealth. You are my father and mother, and you are my very dear friends. Gaudiya Bhashya by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. Many people wrongly consider Sri Gaurasundar in the position of an ordinary mother, ordinary father, ordinary friend, or similar ordinary relationship. But Advaita Prabhu considered Gaurasundar completely transcendental to all worldly designations and established him as the transcendental father, mother, wealth, and beloved. Material relationships are based on the platform of unpalatable material enjoyment. There is no tinge of service attitude in them. The Prakrita Sahajya's mood as lover, the prosperous Prakrit Sahajya's wealth, and the Prakrit Sahajya's relationships as friend, father, mother, and son are all situated in the atmosphere of material enjoyment. To become free from material enjoyment, they take shelter of voidism in the atmosphere of renunciation, and thus become impersonalists. But those who realize that all objects of this material world are related to Lord Vishnu can eternally remain aloof from the spirit of enjoyment and sensual knowledge. In Vaiṣṇava philosophy, there is no spirit of material enjoyment, and there is no concept that invisible objects are enjoyable. Rather than the attitude of enjoyment, the attitude of service is prominent. Haribol Ganga Mataji. Je tore langhiya kore more namaskar, se jana katiya shira kore pratikar. Haribol Champak Mataji. One who transgresses you and offers me obeisances is cutting off the head of his worshipable Lord and then trying to remedy the situation. Gaudiya Bhashya. The service of the superficial rejection of false ego displayed by conditioned souls who are covered by the three modes of nature and who consider themselves the enjoyers and the doers of all activities are simply insults to the worshipable Lord. Darshan without service is simply an exhibition of aversion to the service of Hari by living entities inclined towards material enjoyment. Wow, that is a very important sentence there. Let's reread that. Darshan without service is simply an exhibition of aversion to the service of Hari by living entities inclined towards material enjoyment. So we don't just have darshan to see the beautiful outfits and to enjoy the, it's not, no. But we only have darshan with service. Therefore, the show of devotion offered to one's material father, mother, friend, or lover is simply improper behavior intended to convert the worshipable object into his servant. The external show of service without the actual inclination for service is like severing the head of one's worshipable object. In other words, it is meant to lord it over one's worshipable object. Hare Krishna Devangana. Hare Krishna. Shurjer shakshat kori raja satrajit bhakti vashe shurjatan hoila vidita. Being pleased by the devotion of King Satrajit, the sun god directly appeared before him. Langhiya tomar agya bhanga dukhe, dui bhai mara jai, surja dekhe sukhe. Yet, because of the offense of transgressing your order, he and his brother were killed. The sun god saw this with satisfaction. Baladeva shishyatva paiya duryodhan, tomare langhiya pai savangshe maran. Although Duryodhan was a disciple of Baladev, he and his family members were killed because he disregarded you. Hiranyakashipuravara paya brahmar, langhiya tomare gelo Savangshe Sanghar. Hiranyakashipu received benedictions from Brahma, yet he and his family members were killed when he disregarded you. Shirashchedi Shiva Pujiya O Dashanana Tomalanki Paileka Savangshe Marana. The 10-headed Ravan, who took pleasure in cutting off others' heads, worshipped Shiva, yet he was nevertheless killed along with his family members when he disregarded you. Sarva Deva Mula Tumi Sabar Ishvar Drishya Drishya Jata Sava Tomar Kinkar Prabhure Langiya Je Dasere Bhakti Kore Puja Khai She Dasa Tahare Sanghare. You are the origin of all demigods and the controller of everyone. All living entities, seen and unseen, are your servants. O Lord, if one disregards you and devotedly makes offerings to your servant, that servant accepts the offerings and kills that worshipper. Pujakai she das tahare sanghare. They take the offering but then kill the worshipper. Gaudiya Bhashya. O Vishwambar Chaitanya Dev, you are the original source of all demigods. You are the supreme controller of all controllers. You are the object of love. The living entities of all manifested and unmanifested worlds act as your servants by engaging in various activities under your authority. Some of your servants appear before living entities averse to the service of Hari as objects of their sensual knowledge, and they become similar to fuel for their sense gratification. Those greedy, ignorant people averse to the service of Hari do not display any attitude of service to the Supreme Lord and are convinced that aversion to Hari is completely justified. Those servants misguide such people by teaching them to disrespect you, while you are in effect the supreme worshipable object for all manifested and unmanifested objects driven by external perception. Such qualified servants of the Supreme Lord collect the ingredients for satisfying their own senses from their own respective deceitful worshippers, and make those worshippers more averse to the service of Krishna. Those worshippers' lusty external conceptions born of sensual knowledge destroy them by increasing their false sense of domination. Tomare lankiya je shivadi deva bhaje vrikshamul kati jeno pallavere puje. Worshipping the demigods headed by Shiva while disregarding you is like watering the leaves of a tree after cutting its root. Gaudiya Bhashya. Being filled with pride and, according to Vishishta Advaita philosophy, being fallen from Vishnu's devotional service, Śrīkar, Śrīkanta, the current Shaivites like Abhay Dikshita, Manikya Bhaskar, and Gyaneshwar from the Lingayat Sampradaya, as well as the Acharyas of the impersonal school, they have introduced a type of devotion to Shiva. Yet, because they have no knowledge of their constitutional position, that same Mahadev does not accept their worship, and more or less entangles them in the philosophy of impersonalism, and thus dispels their propensity for worship. Those who, in the course of analyzing the science of the energetic Lord, which establishes a temporary nature of Vishnu's partial manifestation, this material world. So those who, in the course of analyzing the science of the energetic Lord, who give up the service of Vishnu and worship the demigods headed by Shiva, who are in contact with matter, and who belong to the external energy of Vishnu, they do nothing more than uproot the tree while severing its leaves and branches. In this regard, one should discuss the verse beginning Yatha Turor Mula Nishechenena. And then in brackets it gives the, I'm not going to read the Sanskrit, but I'll read the translation because this reference wasn't given by Srila Saraswati Thakur, like he didn't give the whole verse. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, in the same way, simply by worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service, automatically satisfies the demigods who are part and parcels of that Supreme Personality. It's from the 4th canto, chapter 31, verse 14. So, one should discuss that verse, as well as the verses of Brahma Samhita that describe the distinction between the essential characteristics of Vishnu and those of the 5 demigods. Veda Vipra Yagya Dharma Sarva Mula Tumi Je Tomana Bhaje Tar Puja Nahi Ami. You are the roots of the Vedas, Brahmanas, sacrifice, and religious principles. I do not accept the worship of one who does not worship you. Gaudiya Bhashya. If Advaita Prabhu is approached and offered worship by those who have no taste for the rarely achieved Krishna Prem taught by Śrī Caitanya-dev, or by those who could not fully surrender themselves at the feet of Śrī Caitanya, the bestower of Krishna Prem, then Advaita will never accept their worship. A few ignorant people deceived by the portion of the Vedas known as Karma-khaṇḍa have introduced ritualistic sacrificial performances. If because of not understanding the actual purport of the Vedas, they become bereft of Lord Chaitanya's service, their external conceptions will make them more or less rivals with the Buddhists, engage them in battle with the demons, encourage them to praise the respective performances of sacrifice, and induce them to forget the Supreme Lord. People under the influence of the 3 modes of material nature in their respective states full of anarthas or unwanted things, who do not accept the Vaiṣṇava conclusions found in the manifested and unmanifested words as the goal of life, they falsely think of themselves as the doer of activities. Yet you are the original source and shelter of all objects, and the cause of external conceptions of all temporary objects, Advaita says. I will never consider materialistic people predominantly engaged with pride in activities that are neglectful of you as as my own, because they are offenders at the feet of Vishnu and the Vaiṣṇavas. Śrī Gaurasundar became pleased as he heard Advaita Prabhu's irrefutable glorification of the Absolute Truth. And when he heard Advaita Prabhu explain the purport of the Absolute Truth described in the verse Vadanti tat tattva vidas, which means learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. So when the Lord heard Advaita Prabhu explain the purport of that verse, Śrī Caitanya-dev regarded Mahavishnu Advaita Prabhu as the Ācārya of Achinta Bheda Bhed Tattva, which establishes that everything is simultaneously one with and different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mahatattva Advaiter Shuniya Vachan Hunkara Koriya Bole Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata. When Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata heard Advaita's explanation of the Absolute Truth, he roared loudly and spoke, Mor e satya sabe shuno manga manadiya Je amare puje mor sevaka langhiya She adhama jane more khanda khanda kore tar puja mor gaye agni heno pore. Everyone, listen to my words, the Lord said. Any fallen soul who disrespects my servant and worships me, cuts me into pieces. His worship feels like fire to my body. Gaudiya Bhashya. After hearing Advaita's explanation of Achinta Bheda Bhed Tattva, Śrī Gaurasundar instructed all of his followers to discuss it with attention. Approving Advaita's statement and establishing himself as the object of worship, Gaurasundar said, there is an inseparable relationship between the servant and the object of service. Therefore, it is stated in the scriptures, Acharyatva tu govindam ta diyan narchayet tuya na sabhagavato gyeya kevalam dambika smrita. One who worships Lord Govinda but fails to worship his devotees should be understood to be not a devotee of the Lord, but simply a victim of false pride. Considering the absolute truth as a product of matter amounts to cutting the body of the Supreme Lord to pieces. In the name of such religions based on envy, various religious systems are created that distract people from the actual truth. I am Purushottam, and I am the object of service. If I am disconnected from my devotees, if I am deprived of variegated pastimes, if I am placed in the prison of impersonalism, and if my limbs are separated from myself, the mockery of perfection and religiosity and useless flowery preaching found in this world by such worship and cultivation of religious principles are simply attempts at setting fire to my Purushottam body and burning me. Wow. The envy and violence of people devoid of devotional service to Vishnu are simply attempts at creating duality by attributing the absolute truth, Vishnu, with mundane abomination. Otherwise, disregarding the external variegated pastimes of the Lord by considering them comparable to material enjoyment simply denies complete enjoyment. Persons who are conversant with the philosophy of Achinta Bheda Bhed do not hesitate to point out the disparity in the 12 types of temporary mellows called rasas that are found in mundane relationships. Spiritual realization devoid of material conceptions amounts to inclination for the service of Vishnu. Haribo Bhakti Yoga Society Philippines. Hare Krishna. So the Lord continued, Jay Amar Daser Sakrit Ninda Kore Mor Nam Kolpataru Sanghare Tahare. The Lord said, my wish-fulfilling holy names destroy one who blasphemes my servant. Gaudiya Bhashya. By the will of the Lord, the illusory energy of Vishnu stimulates ignorant people's conceptions of I am the doer and I am the enjoyer, and thus deceives them. Greedy living entities, by misuse of their independence, they sometimes consider themselves Mayavadis, and sometimes out of false ego, consider themselves, who are tortured by the three modes of nature, as demigods. The endeavors of the attracted to become distracted from the attraction of Krishna are called bhog. The endeavors of the attracted to become distracted from the attraction of Krishna are called bhog, or material enjoyment. And the endeavors to become inclined towards the service of Krishna are called bhakti, or devotional service. Is called bhakti, right? Yeah. Those foolish two-legged animals who attribute on the living entity, those foolish two-legged animals who attribute on the living entities the concept of doership within the tribulation of the three modes of nature, by considering them independent, even though they are parts and parcels of the supreme shelter, they simply engage in enjoying the external world and do not respect Krishna or his devotees. When they engage in the service of the Supreme Lord with a desire to diminish their conception of doership in the form of animalistic propensities, and yet become cheated from achieving the service of the devotees, then they develop a desire to portray envy of devotees as devotional service to the Lord. Yes, we've seen that happen. That is why Gaura Sundar is saying, I set an example of my compassion by killing those who pretend to worship me while discriminating between me and the incarnations of my Prakash Vigraha, my confidential associates, and the spiritual master who is the Ashray Vigraha, or shelter of those who have taken shelter of me. All transcendental qualities are present in the devotees of the Lord. Liberation is their maidservant, and material enjoyment is their order carrier. So, if gross materialists engage with pride in activities like censoring, blaspheming, and abusing the devotees from the material point of view and through mundane considerations, then the Supreme Lord destroys them. Ananta Brahmande Jato Shabamor Das Eteke Je Poro Hingse She Jai Nash. All living entities in the innumerable universes are my servants. So anyone who blasphemes any living entity is ruined. Wow, that is such an important instruction. Let's reread that. All living entities in the innumerable universes are my servants. So anyone who blasphemes any living entity is ruined. Gaudiya Bhashya. Because of aversion to Hari, materialistic people accept the service of the 6 enemies headed by lust and anger as their only shelter. All living entities of the visible and invisible worlds are established as servants of the Supreme Lord. If a person exhibits envy of another person, then that envious person confirms that he is malicious of those who are inclined towards the Lord's service rather than confirming himself as a Vaishnava. Whatever envy is exhibited in such considerations is more or less envy of the Supreme Lord. Moreover, since the devotee's propensity for performing service or welfare activities is so strong, those who are envious consider that the endeavors of such servants of Śrī Caitanya to increase... let me read that. Moreover, since the devotee's propensity for performing service or welfare activities is so strong, those who are envious consider that the endeavors of such servants of Śrī Caitanya to increase ignorant people's inclination towards Krishna, they think that those inclination of that those devotees, those devotees' propensity are similar to their own. Sorry, I messed up. I'm a bit tired right now. So they think that those endeavors of the devotees are similar to their own variegated pastimes of envy. This guarantees their inauspiciousness. People become envious of objects that are not related to the absolute truth because of their propensity for enjoyment. Pure devotees are never driven by the 3 modes of nature to merge in the waters of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Therefore, without taking shelter of non-envious devotees, the envious materialistic enjoyers of the temporary material world fall into inconvenience as a result of their karma by accepting philosophies like Mayavad, and thus bring about their own ruination. One can never realize oneself by unconstitutional propensities. Aspiring mankind has no alternative to realization of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, those who are inimical to the spiritual master, they accept enmity of the spiritual master, pride, and other worthless objects as wealth. They merge into the darkness of ignorance, and they give importance to impersonalism, Kevala Advaitavad, which denies Svajatiya Vijatiya Bhed, the distinctions among both similar and dissimilar objects. This is their downfall. Unalloyed service to the Satchidananda Supreme Lord is the opportunity to become self-realized. Otherwise, one certainly falls down. Tumi to amar nija deha hoite boro, tomare langila daive na sahaye dora. You are more important than my own body, the Lord said to Advaita. So if anyone transgresses you, he will be unable to tolerate his fate. Sannyasi o jadi anindaka ninda kore, adapate jai sarva dharma ghuchetare. If even a sannyasi blasphemes an innocent person, he goes to hell and all his religious principles are destroyed. Now we come to this. No, never mind. Bahutuli jagatere bole gor dham, anindaka hoy sabe bolo Krishna nam. Raising his arms, Lord Gaurasundar declared to the world, he said, avoid offenses and chant the names of Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. To attribute faults when faults are not present is called ninda or blasphemy. It is most necessary to remain aloof from blasphemy while chanting the names of Krishna. Persons who are free from blasphemy are best of all. One who is devoid of desires to enjoy the fruits of his karma is called a sannyasi. If even such a sannyasi who is free from blasphemy happens to blaspheme a Vaiṣṇavas, if he happens to blaspheme a Vaiṣṇava, then all his principles of renunciation and abstinence from talking about others are destroyed, and he falls down. Okay, this is a very famous verse, quoted all the time. Anindaka hoye je sakrit Krishna bole, satya satya mui tare udhari bo hele. If one who is free from blasphemy chants the names of Krishna even once, I will certainly deliver him. Gaudiya Bhashya. One who chants the name of Krishna while remaining aloof from attributing false faults in the course of talking about others, that person becomes free from the bondage of material existence. Blaspheming the devotees of Krishna earns one the qualification to enjoy the threefold miseries of material existence. When a living entity becomes free from blasphemy of Vaiṣṇavas, he attains liberation. The three classes of materialistic people, Mayavadis, Karmis, and gross materialists, are those three classes of materialistic persons, they are blasphemers of the Vaiṣṇavas. It is impossible for them to chant the names of Krishna. E jadi Mahaprabhu bolila vachan, jai 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 bole sarva bhaktagan. When Mahaprabhu spoke these words, all the devotees chanted, Jai, Jai. Advaita Kandaye dui charane dhoriya, Prabhu Kande Advaitere kolete koriya. Advaita cried and grabbed the Lord's 2 lotus feet. The Lord also began to cry as he embraced Advaita. Advaiter prema bhashe shakala medini, e mata mahachintya Advaita kahini. The entire world floated in Advaita's ecstatic love. Such are the inconceivable topics of Advaita. Advaiter vakya buji bara shakti kar, jani ho ishwar sane bheda nahi jar. Who has the power to understand Advaita's words? One should know that there is no difference between him and the Supreme Lord. Nityananda Advaite je gala gali baje, she she Paramananda jadi jane bhuje. If one understands the superficial quarrels between Nityananda and Advaita, he will attain supreme happiness. Durvigeya Vishnu Vaishna Vera Vakya Karma Tana Anugraheshe Bhujyetar Marma. The words and activities of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas are incomprehensible. Only by their mercy can one understand them. Gaudiya Bhashya. All words current in the world are indicative of material objects. Material activities are aimed at providing fruits to the performer. But the words of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas are not like that. Their activities are not similar to the activities of those who are not Vishnu and who are not Vaishnavas. The difference between the words and activities of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas and the difference between the words and activities of others is that the latter are under the control of sensual knowledge, whereas the former is beyond the control of sensual knowledge. Only by the mercy of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas can one attain the qualification to enter that difficult-to-comprehend kingdom. One second, I'm going to stand up. I haven't started falling asleep yet, but I feel it coming, and so I just want to shake it off. I went to sleep. Yeah, I had a really intense day yesterday. Okay, you can hear me all right? Yeah, it looks like it. Okay. E mata jata ar hoi. What's that? Okay. E mata jata ar hoi kathan Nityananda Advaita Prabhu ar jatagan Iha bujibar Shakti Prabhu Balaram Sahasra Badane Gai E Gunagram. Only Lord Balaram has the power to understand the pastimes that took place between Nityananda, Advaita, and their associates. In his form as Ananta, he sings their glories with his 1,000 mouths. Kaneke bahya drishti diya vishwambar hasya advaita prati bolo ye utar. Vishwambar then glanced at Advaita and smiled as he spoke to him. Kichuni chanchalya mui koria. Sorry. 1 second. This is all mixed up. Okay. Koriachon shishu. Okay, got it. Okay. Kichuna chanchalya mui koriachon shishu. Advaita boloe upadika nahe kichu. Have I been mischievous like a child? Mahaprabhu asked. Advaita replied, not particularly. Gaudiya Bhashya. Vishwambar said to Advaita, with childish restlessness, I came to punish you. In reply, Śrī Advaita Prabhu said, your activities like these are never real. They are simply temporary incidents situated near reality. Therefore, they are actually superficial rather than factual. A spirit soul's absorption in mental activities and gross bodily activities is only temporary. That is, it is not full of eternal knowledge or uninterrupted bliss, and it is simply a temporary conception. Prabhu bole shuno Nityānanda mahashai komiva chanchalya jadi mor kichu hoy. The Lord said, listen, Nityananda Mahashai, if I have been restless, please forgive me. Nityananda Caitanya-Advaita Haridas Paraspar Shaba Chahi Shabe Hoy Lohas. Then Nityananda, Chaitanya, Advaita, and Haridas looked at each other. They looked at one another and began to laugh. What was that? Paraspar Shaba Chahi Shabe Hoy Lohas. Advaita Grihini Mahasati Pativrata Vishwambar Mahaprabhu Jare Bole Mata. Mahaprabhu Vishwambar would address the most chaste wife of Advaita as mother, as Mata. Prabhu Bole Shigragiya Koroho Randan Krishner Naivedya Koro Koribo Bhojan. The Lord said to her, go quickly and cook. The Lord said to her, go quickly and cook an offering for Krishna. Then we will eat. Nityananda Haridas Advaitadi Shange Ganga Snane Vishwambar Cholilen Range. Thereafter, Vishwambar went to take bath in the Ganga with his associates, headed by Nityananda, Haridas, and Advaita. Sheshav Anandavede Varni Be Vistar Snana Kori Prabhu Shab Ailen Ghar. These ecstatic pastimes will be described in the Vedas. After taking bath, the Lord and his associates returned to the house. Gaudiya Bhashya. The Vedic literatures are the disseminators of actual knowledge rather than superficial knowledge. Actual, pure, real knowledge manifests in the hearts of the living entities from the descriptions of the Vedas. Charana Pakali Maha Prabhu Vishwambar Krishnere Koroye Danda Pranama Vistar. After washing his lotus feet, Mahaprabhu Vishwambar offered his obeisances to Krishna. Advaita Podila Vishwambara Padatale Haridasa Podila Advaita Padamule. Advaita then fell at the feet of Vishwambar, and Haridas fell at the feet of Advaita. Apurva Kotuka Dekhi Nityananda Hase Dharma setu jeno tena vigraha prakashe. Nityananda smiled while watching those wonderful pastimes. These three personalities are the bridge of transcendental religious principles. Dharma setu. Gaudiya Bhāṣya. The three separate manifestations, Śrī Nityananda, Śrī Advaita, and Śrī Mahaprabhu, are the bridge for approaching the absolute truth. By following the conceptions preached by these three personalities, the living entities can easily cross the ocean of material existence. Uthi deki Thakur Advaita pada tale, ate byate uthi Prabhu Vishnu Vishnu bole. The Lord began to rise, and he saw Advaita at his lotus feet. He therefore quickly stood up and exclaimed, Vishnu, Vishnu. Advaiter hate dhori Nityananda shange, cholila bhojana grihe Vishvambara range. Thereafter, Vishvambar took Advaita by the hand and went with Nityananda to the dining room. Bhojane boshila tin Prabhu ekathai, Vishvambar Nityānanda Ācārya Goshai. The three lords, Vishvambar, Nityananda, and Advaita Ācārya, then sat down together to eat. Swabhava chanchalyatin Prabhu nijaveshe, upadika Nityananda ati balya rase. By nature, the three lords were restless in their own ecstasies. Nityananda, however, was especially so because of his childish mood. He was especially restless. I'll show you all darshan of our Thakurji afterwards. They're decorated nicely. Okay. Dware boshi bhojana koroye Haridas, jar deki bar shakti shakala prakash. Haridas, who was qualified to see those pastimes, he sat down by the door and ate. Advaita grihini mahasati jogeshwari, paribeshan koren sangari hari hari. Advaita's most chaste wife, who was an exalted devotee, remembered Lord Hari as she served them food. Bhojana koren tin Thakur chanchal, divya anna ghrita dugda payash shakal. The three restless lords ate the finest rice with ghee, along with milk and sweet rice. Advaita dekhiya hase Nityananda rai, eka vastu dui bhaga Krishner lilai. Nityananda looked at Advaita and smiled. They are one, yet they have appeared as two for the purpose of assisting Krishna's pastimes. Bhojana hoila purna kichu matra shesh, Nityananda hoila parama balyabesh. When they had almost finished their meal, Nityananda became fully absorbed in the mood of a child. Shab ghare anna chadaiya hoilo has, Prabhu bole hi hi, hase Haridas. As Nityananda laughed loudly, he threw rice all about the room. The Lord exclaimed, hi hi, and Haridas smiled. Hi hi is like, alas, alas, what's going on? Dekhiya Advaita krode, agni heno jwale, Nityananda tattva kohe, krodha vesha chale. On seeing this, Advaita began to burn like fire with anger. On the pretext of anger, he then began to describe the glories of Nityananda. Jatinash korilek e Nityananda, kota hoite ashi hoilo madhya shanga. This Nityananda has ruined my caste. I don't know where this drunkard has come from. Gaudiya Bhāṣya. Drunkards and crazy people do not discriminate between pure and contaminated, or acceptable and unacceptable foods. When, out of his childish restlessness, Nityananda threw rice all about the dining room, Śrī Advaita Prabhu considered that such actions were contrary to the codes of proper conduct, and began to accuse Śrī Nityananda of having no conception of caste or whether something was touchable or untouchable. No one knows what village Śrī Nityananda belongs to, who his father is, or who his guru is. Since he has traveled to many places, he has eaten with various classes of people. Therefore, such a naturally intoxicated person is spoiling us. Śrī Advaita Prabhu enacted the pastime of a householder Brahmin of Bengal. Therefore, since Nityananda had associated with the Yavans of Western Bengal, Advaita Prabhu accused him of deviating from his caste and religious principles by their association. Actually, Nityananda was not a wine-drinking tantric. He was not a wine-drinking tantric sannyasi. From these incidents, devious people mistakenly consider Nityananda to be as undisciplined as themselves. But Nityananda Prabhu has never given any teaching. Nityananda has never given any teaching to encourage such sinful activities. In this regard, one should discuss the following verse from Padyavali. Pari vadatu jano yatha tathava nanu mukharo na vayam vicharayama. Hari rasa madira vadati mata bhuvi vilutama natama nirvishama. Sorry, nirvishama. I don't think it's broken up correctly, so I couldn't say that. Maybe it is. I don't know. Let the garrulous populace say whatever they like. We shall pay them no regard. Thoroughly maddened by the ecstasy of the intoxicating beverage of love for Krishna, we shall enjoy life running about, rolling on the ground, and dancing in ecstasy. Wow, what a wonderful verse. I really like that. I want to memorize that one. That's such a great one. Hari rasa madira madati matta. Bhuvi viluntama natama nirvishama. Okay. Guru nahi boloye sannyasi kori naam. Janmila na janiye nishchoy kon gram. We don't know who his guru is, Advaita said, yet he poses as a sannyasi. We don't know for certain which village he is born in. Kehoto na chine nahi jani kon jati, dhuliya bule jeno matta hati. No one knows him, and no one knows to which caste he belongs. He wanders about like a mad elephant. Ghare ghare paschimar khai ache bhat, ekhane hoila asi brahmaner sat. He has eaten in the houses of Westerners. Now he is mingling here with the Brahmanas. Once again. Nityananda madhyape korila sarvanash. Satya 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 e shuno Haridas. Listen, Haridas, I tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. This drunkard Nityananda has ruined everything. Korila sarvanash. Satya 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 e shuno Haridas. Krodha veshe Advaita hoila degbas. Hate tali diya nache atta has. Out of anger, Advaita lost his cloth. He clapped his hands as he danced and laughed loudly. Advaita charitra deki hase gorarai. Hasi Nityananda dui anguli dekhai. Lord Gauranga laughed on seeing the characteristics of Advaita. Nityananda laughed and displayed his two thumbs pointing up. I have no idea what that means, though. I know it means for us, but... Okay. Shuddha hasyamoy advaiter krodha. Sorry. Shuddha hasyamoy advaiter krodha veshe kiba vriddha kiba shishu hasaye visheshe. Seeing Advaita's anger, everyone from child to old age burst into blissful laughter. Koneke paiya bahya koilo achman paraspar anande korila alingan. Shortly thereafter, Advaita regained external consciousness. They then all washed their hands and mouths and embraced one another. Nityananda Advaita hoy kola kuli prema rase dui prabhu mahakutuhali. As Nityananda and Advaita embraced each other, the two Prabhus became overwhelmed in the mellows of ecstatic love. Prabhu vigraher dui bahu dui jan priti boy apriti nahi kokon khan. Those two Prabhus are the two arms of the Lord. One arm is Advaita, one arm is Nityananda, and the other arm is Advaita. They had only love for each other. There were no bad feelings between them for even a moment. Gaudiya Bhashya. Prabhu Nityananda and Prabhu Advaita are the right and left hands of Gaurasundar. Therefore, there is factually no possibility of any bad feelings or misunderstanding between them. Both are intoxicated with love of God. Tabe je koloh dekho, she Krishner lila, balaker prai Vishnu Vaiṣṇaver khela. The quarreling that is seen between them is part of Krishna's pastimes. The sporting of Vishnu and the Vaiṣṇavas is like that of children. Henomate Mahaprabhu Advaita Mandire Swanubhavanande Krishna Kirtane Vihare. In this way, Mahaprabhu was absorbed in his own ecstatic mood while enjoying the glorification of Krishna in the house of Advaita. Iha buji bar shakti Prabhu Balaram ane nahi janaye eshab gunagram. Only Lord Balaram has the power to understand these pastimes. No one else can understand the nature of these pastimes. Saraswati jane Balaramer kripai sabar jivai she bhagavati gai. By the mercy of Balaram, Goddess Saraswati also knows these pastimes. That goddess glorifies these pastimes through the tongues of those who are qualified. I really find these verses so interesting. It's by the mercy of Balaram that Goddess Saraswati knows these pastimes, and that goddess glorifies these pastimes through the tongues of those who are qualified. Gaudiya Bhashya. By the mercy of Sri Baladev, the teachings of Śrī Caitanya are established on the tongues of those who engage in kirtan. Only those who have vowed to serve their spiritual master with awe and reverence are able to glorify the pastimes of Krishna. Important point, let's reread that. Only those who have vowed to serve their spiritual master with awe and reverence are able to glorify the pastimes of Krishna. Shuddha Saraswati, the goddess of transcendental knowledge, dances on their tongues and releases waves of Krishna's glories. Oh my God, Prajuna Babaji Maharaj speaks so loud. Whatever. Do I have noise suppression on? 1 second, let me just check. I think I do. Yes, I do have it on. Okay, great. Esab katar nahi jani anukrama jete mate gaye matra Krishner vikram. I do not know the chronological order of these pastimes. Somehow or other, I am simply singing Krishna's glories. Chaitanya priyer paye mor namaskar ihate je aparad kamoho amar. I offer my obeisances at the feet of Lord Chaitanya's dear associates so that they will forgive my offenses. Advaiter grihe prabhu vanchi koto din navadvipe aila sanghati koretin. After staying some days at the house of Advaita, the Lord returned to Navadvip with the three Prabhus. Nityananda Advaita Tritiya Haridas Etina Shange Prabhu Aila Nijavas. Thus the Lord returned to his home, accompanied by Nityananda, Advaita, and Haridas. Shunilo Vaiṣṇavas sab Aila Thakur Dhaya Ailo Shabe Ananda Prachur. When all the Vaishnavas heard, "The Lord has come," they came running in great ecstasy. Deki sarvatapo hare she chandra vadan dhoriya charana sabe koroye rodhan. On seeing the moon-like face of the Lord, all their miseries were vanquished. They fell at the Lord's lotus feet and began to cry. Gaura Chandra Mahaprabhu Sabar Jivan Sabare Korilo Prabhu Prem Al Alingan. Gaura Chandra Mahaprabhu, the life and soul of everyone, embraced each one of them with love. Shabe Prabhur Nija Vigraha Saman Shabe Udar Bhagavater Pradhan. They were all equal to the Lord's own body. They were magnanimous and topmost devotees of the Lord. Shabe korilen adve tere namaskar, jar bhakti karane chaitanya avatar. They all offered obeisances to Advaita. They offered obeisances to Advaita, by whose devotion Lord Chaitanya incarnated. Jar bhakti karane chaitanya avatar. Anande hoila mata Vaiṣṇava shakal, sabe kore Prabhu shange Krishna kola holo. All the Vaishnavas became intoxicated with ecstasy as they discussed topics of Krishna with the Lord. Putra deki ai hoilo, anande vival, vadhu shange grihe kore Govinda mangal. Mother Shachi became overwhelmed with ecstasy on seeing her son. She and her daughter-in-law prayed to Govinda for auspiciousness. Gaudiya Bhashya. When Shachi Devi saw Śrī Gaurasundar return with Śrī Nityananda, Śrī Haridas and sorry. God, I need that. Shubal. When Shachi Devi saw Śrī Gaurasundar return with Śrī Nityananda, Śrī Advaita, and Śrī Haridas, and found her entire house becoming filled with the intoxicated Vaishnav's vibration of topics regarding Krishna, she became most jubilant. When Mother Shachi watched her daughter-in-law, when Mother Shachi watched with her daughter-in-law how Śrī Gaurasundar was absorbed in glorifying Krishna, she became equally pleased. Unlike the material pleasure derived by ordinary fathers-in-law and from the meeting of their sons and daughters-in-law, Mother Shachi became overwhelmed in ecstasy when she saw the auspicious symptom that everyone out of ecstatic love considered the Lord's house as Goloka. She became overwhelmed in ecstasy when she saw the auspicious symptom that everyone out of ecstatic love considered the Lord's house as Goloka. Sorry guys, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time reading today. Only 4 more verses. Sorry. Iha boli bar shakti sahasra badan je Prabhu amar janma janmer jivan. Only the 1,000-headed Lord, who is my life and soul, birth after birth, has the power to describe these pastimes. Only the 1,000-headed Lord, who is my life and soul, birth after birth, only he has the power to describe these pastimes. Dvija vipra brahmana jehino nama bhed e mata bhed Nityānanda baladev. Just as a Dvija, Vipra, and Brahman are different only in name, Nityānanda and Baladev are similarly different only in name. Advaita grihete Prabhu jatta koilo keli iha jay shuni shei pai shei meli. Anyone who hears the pastimes that took place in the house of Advaita will join in such pastimes. Jai ho! Anybody who hears these pastimes that took place in the house of Advaita, that person will join in such pastimes. Śrī Krishna Caitanya-Nitānanda Chanda Jan Vrindavana Dasatachu Pada Jugegan. Accepting Śrī Krishna Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends the English translation of the Gaudiya Bhashya commentary on Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata, Madhya-khaṇḍa, chapter 19, entitled The Lord's Pastimes in Advaita's House. Jai. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai. Śrīman Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Advaita Ācārya Ki Jai. Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Jai. Advaita's wives, Shri Sita Thakurani and Shri Devi Ki Jai. Advaita Ācārya's son, Achyutananda Ki Jai. Shachi Mata Ki Jai. Shri Vishnupriya Devi Ki Jai. Swaparshad Shri Gaur Hari Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Shri Navadip Vasi Jan Ki Jai. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Okay, so the next chapter we're reading is called, which we'll read tomorrow, is The Glories of Murari Gupta. This chapter that we'll be reading tomorrow describes Mahaprabhu's revelation of Nityananda's position in Murari Gupta's dream, his refutation of the philosophy of impersonalism, Murari's offering of foodstuffs in his house to Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu's resultant indigestion and cure by drinking Murari's water, Mahaprabhu's acceptance of a four-armed form in the house of Śrīvas, Murari's acceptance of the mood of Garuda, and Mahaprabhu's climbing onto Murari's shoulders, Murari's resolution to give up his body, and the Lord's prevention, and the topics such as the author's comparison of blasphemous sannyasis to plunderers. That's what we'll be reading about tomorrow, the glories of Murari Gupta. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitya Pravisht Om Vishnupad Ashruta Rashata Shishmad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Guru Dev Ki Jai. Nitya Pravisht Om Vishnupad Ashruta Rashata Shishmad Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Pravisht Om Vishnupad Ashruta Rashata Shishmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashruta Rashata Shishmad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashruta Rashata Shishmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Maha-bhagavat Shri Gaura Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaiṣṇavas Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadas Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala, Gaura Mandala, Braja Mandala, Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Jai Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Jai. The Gaudiya Bhashya of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Swaparshad Shri Gaur Hari Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Sorry. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Sorry. Vrindai Tulsidevai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. Hare Krishna, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Champak Mataji, Devangna Sharma, and who else is there? Raseshwari Mataji, Kishore Prabhu, Vidyalala Sadidi, Sudevi Didi, Ganga Mataji, and Bhakti Yoga Society Philippines. And I see there are many other people watching. I don't know who you are though, because I only see those who write comments. I can only see your names. But Dandavat Pranams, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow to read about the glories of Murari Gupta. All right. Does anybody have anything that they would like to mention before I end this stream? All right. So see you all tomorrow. Hari Bol, everybody.